we're learning what exactly could kill the Indominus Rex, because that bastard survived damn near everything in that movie, bro. There's got to be something in some garage of some man in Texas that can get the job done. Leave a like on the video and let's get into it.
The Indominus Rex, a monstrosity of mighty nature that carved a path of destruction through Jurassic World. It overcame every obstacle until the bitter end by man or beast. But what kind of weapons could even kill something meant for war? And did the cast even stand a chance with what they had on hand? Today on Goji Center, we evaluate the first major cinematic hybrid and the weapons pitted against it to find out what really could have killed the Indominus Rex.
They made this thing so overpowered. Perfect movie. I freaking loved it, but it could go invis like as actively as Predator. Crazy.
First things first, let's establish what exactly it is we are evaluating here. The Indominus Rex was a massive creature with solid defenses, sporting bony osteoderms studding some of her hide, a thick skull comparable in strength to that of a Tyrannosaurus, and an overlapping ribcage and gastralia.
This is why I always say the freaking Jurassic Park 3 Spino, but why I always say you could defeat this thing. Look at those scrawny arms on this dinosaur, bro. It's a nerd. The Jurassic Park 3 Spino has these like buff ape arms. Like, no, it'd be over before it began.
Like even the most intelligent modern birds, dinosaur brains are very compact compared to mammals. So getting a brain shot on the Indominus would be extremely difficult. The best chances would be for a heart or lung shot from the flank, but that would require weaving through the gastralia and ribs, as well as penetrating multiple feet of tissue.
Penetrating
feet?
We
aren't talking about a supernaturally durable kaiju like a mini Godzilla or any intentionally physics-busting supervillain. The Indominus Rex is an animal and is composed of the same stuff other animals are made of. Her body is chemically more or less made of the same bone, muscle tissue, keratin, and blood a normal animal is. Unless Dr. Wu ever spells out that he put Kryptonian in the DNA mix, we're not thinking otherwise. Now, like any fictional franchise, there have been moments in the Jurassic saga where the physics have lapsed for dramatic effect. Owen here isn't supposed to be taken to be moonlighting as an Avenger, and yet here he is, getting caught in the pyroclastic flow of a volcano and being inches away from this much lava without being burnt to a crisp. It's not because he is superhuman, it's plot armor.
I don't know, I gotta dispute that. I was in Kona once, this island in Hawaii, when I was like a child. There was an active volcano going on because it was like a tourist thing. You go and watch the lava. I was like literally like a foot or two away from the lava streams flowing. It wasn't that much lava, it was more of a thin stream and just many of them coming down, but you could necessarily be really close to lava. It's not that, unless like that much of it specifically makes it a lot hotter. The only thing is the bottom of your shoes start to melt because of like the lava veins under the ground, but it's not like it's plausible.
So, for this evaluation, major lapses in physics for the sake of dramatic effect are going to be put aside. We're also not taking statements from tie-in children's books seriously.
Would be hot as hell, though.
These are often meant for hype, didn't involve the filmmakers, and are contradictory to themselves. If anyone wants to use that, have fun, but we're just sticking to the films, chiefly. And
that's exactly what I do also. Everyone in my Discord always mentions Camp Cretaceous and because it's canon. I know it's canon, but it's a freaking kids cartoon where they can't even legally eat the children because you can't have that on TV. So by that show's logic, every dinosaur on that show can't catch a child. So it's like, it's you gotta take it with a grain of salt, you know what I mean?
Last but not least, we're not using online calculations done by others. Partially to keep this video from being too long, and because for every good calculation, there are bad ones because somebody misunderstood physics. For example, we once came across a calc based on this moment where the good people of San Diego got a bus-side safari experience meeting the buck. And this calculation that got spread around concluding that
Holy
the buck
hell.
struck with 10 tons of TNT.
What?
For the record, folks, 10 tons of TNT is the equivalent of the mother of all bombs and looks like this. The blast radius of the GBU-43B dwarfs other non-nuclear munitions, making them one of the most lethal in comparison to other lesser bombs. What you're looking at is in-game footage, courtesy of one of the biggest supporters of the channel.
Oh, that was clever. That was a clever way to introduce an ad right there. That was genius. Absolutely, though. War Thunder is an amazing freaking game, and if you use their codes and the stuff in their description on this video, link down below, of Goji Centers, then they make a lot more money, and then they make a lot cooler Godzilla videos, so yeah.
Jurassic's buck allegedly yielded the same impact force of a Moab. The real force here would likely be 18,000 joules, about 4.3 e to the power of -6 power tons of TNT.
That's what I was gonna
Roughly
say.
the same impact force of a car crashing into this bus at 20 to 30 miles per hour, when accounting for multiple crumple zones like we see on this bus.
Crumple
That
zones?
much force hitting mostly hollow aluminum tends to match up pretty close to real-life vehicle crashes. No Moab headbutts required. With all that out of the way, let's get back to looking at what the human cast threw at this horrendous hybrid in a bid to kill it, and see if they brought the right equipment. After all, Vic Hoskins was supposed to be a professional in charge of security, and was one of the primary forces behind the Indominus. Surely, this genius of
His
a
little
man would have
cowboy
brought
boots.
only the best equipment, and known exactly what to use for bringing down an animal of this size. No, he didn't. At least, not entirely. For you to fully appreciate the rest of this video, we'd like you to take a seat and take a quick crash course on firearm damage.
Damn.
It'll only take a moment.
Ooh,
What a
we get
gun
to learn
looks
stuff.
like and what it's called are not good indicators of how powerful they are. What really matters is the kind of bullets it shoots, and those haven't changed much since the 1920s, with only a few new types becoming common. The way bullets work doesn't change just because the gun looks fancy. Things like stocks and attachments don't magically boost power or speed like in video games. They mostly just help with handling or comfort. Outside of special ammo, the primary determining factor for how much damage a bullet does is the foot-pounds. This is essentially how much energy that bullet has to tear into things, and it's determined by how heavy the bullet was and how fast it was going. Weight is pretty self-explanatory. Bigger bullets, bigger impact. Speed, however, really depends on how much of an explosive charge was behind the bullet and how long the barrel of the gun was. More explosives equals more force pushing the bullet. Longer barrel, more length for that explosive to be focused and propel said bullet. This is why most rifles with longer cartridges for more explosives and longer barrels almost always hit much harder than pistols. As for the firearms themselves in the movie, looking them over actually gives a pretty good idea of why taking down the Indominus mostly came down to one very angry T-Rex and one oversized Moza. Shout out to the Internet Movie Firearms database if you want to identify what people are locked and loaded with on screen. And what the InGen Goon Squad was packing was less than impressive.
Goon Squad?
Right off the bat, pretty much any of the submachine guns or assault rifles aren't cutting it. Several InGen security members were seen running around with various submachine guns and M16 variants that only have about 500 to 1700 foot-pounds of energy. These can be plenty lethal to humans, but unless you have Indominus stand there and get unloaded on for minutes on end, they're not dropping a multi-ton animal. These kinds of bullets get lodged in the skin or underlying tissue without really hitting anything vital. The heftier M14 enhanced rifle and DRD tactical Paratus could do some more damage firing 7.62 rifle ammo. These rounds have about 2,600 foot-pounds of energy. The problem, however, is these are not optimal for big game. Poachers going after endangered elephants and rhinos with this ammo usually have to resort to traps and dozens of poison bullets with repeated ambushes.
How
the
lovely.
animals usually are scared into running away and suffer for hours at a time before meeting their end. The 762 did evolve from the more powerful 30-06 rounds used in Browning machine guns back in the World War eras. These rounds have
Call of
about
Duty World at War,
3,000
man.
foot-pounds behind them. But the difference is when the biplanes firing bullets eventually took down things from early armored vehicles to King Kong, these were using multiple machine guns with way more ammo than a few guys on foot would have. What vehicle-mounted guns security had were shortly underutilized. These would have been more stable to fire from and land more shots. Owen and Barry actually had some of the better picks with hunting guns, even if it's clear they probably had to just make do with what they had on hand instead of getting what was optimal. Barry's Remington 870 shotgun and Model 900 revolver could do something at close range, but even they aren't built for something weighing multiple tons. Owen's rifle is also the source of some confusion. In the junior novelization, it says his gun can take down a T-Rex, but they never clarify what kind of gun it is, nor does the novel ever even feature him firing it in the finale.
Is it that rifle from Lost World? I forgot what it's called, but like on the rifle's official website, it shows under lists of animals it could take down. One of them's a T-Rex because it took down a T-Rex in Lost World. I feel like it's the rifle, but I forgot everything.
In either case, this would just not be canonical with the film because it contradicts what we see. In the movie, our hero is prominently running around with a Marlin Model 1895 hunting rifle. The manufacturers for the rifle, not to let free advertisement go to waste, even jokingly changed the recommended type of game for this hunting rifle to include T-Rex on the listing. Keyword here, however, is joke. Firing 45-70 rounds, just about the biggest ammo he could probably get a hold of living in a theme park, these rounds could reliably drop boars and elk. But this is still not the recommended kind of stopping power for big animals. Rifle manufacturers making this exact kind of ammo even created a stronger size class above it, meant for killing just 1-ton bison.
Damn,
unless we want to say T-Rex in the JP universe can be brought down with a gun a fraction of the force recommended for a big cow, this isn't lining up. Owen, making do with the best he had at the time, also explains why in the main straight fight he was managing to draw blood shooting at the Indominus while fighting alongside the Raptors, but he failed to critically wound it. Outside of a direct hit to the brain, he really couldn't hope for much more. Really, only a few weapons
eventually
in the movie
it would get lead poisoning
against something like the Indominus. Dishonorable mention to the idiot on InGen security with an underslung grenade launcher that for some reason they decided not to use.
Damn, poor guy.
The M134 minigun uses the 762 bullets we talked about earlier, but the 2,000 to 6,000 rounds per minute fire rate from this gun created by refrigerator manufacturers is so absurdly high and with such a huge ammo capacity that it wouldn't have really mattered. Had that been used in any other scenario where it wasn't on an unstable helicopter piloted by a brave but novice rookie pilot, and apparently being aimed by a stormtrooper missing almost every shot,
he did miss every damn shot.
The Indom. And speaking of missing your shot, contrary to a lot of misidentifications on the internet, this is not an RPG. This is an AT-4 smoothbore recoilless rifle. Manufactured to blow holes in walls and attack armored vehicles, the AT-4 can have some devastating power in a direct hit. Most versions fire projectiles that are meant to achieve what is called a beyond armor effect. This means the explosive force is delayed until after the projectile blasts into a target to blow up inside it. Had this actually hit, the cast would have been showered in hybrid guts. 200% dead Indom, no ifs, ands, or buts. Unfortunately, there were more stormtroopers on staff that day. It's also worth noting that because of how AT-4 projectiles work, the actual explosive force isn't nearly as deadly as some might think. Test firings at walls and shipping containers show that the major force is very directional. The fireball and shockwaves knocked the hybrid off her feet, but wouldn't have damaged her internals. Viewers can also tell the damage wasn't too extreme considering the surrounding foliage is largely just on fire and not blasted apart. A vast majority of the explosion was directed into the ground after detonating there. What's worse is the AT-4 is a single-shot rifle. In most circumstances, you wouldn't be able
that
to
guy would have killed the Indom, you know what I mean?
Second shot. You would need another loaded rifle laying around. The security at Jurassic World was not prepared for something like the Indominus. They were running around with guns that often have a hard time dropping elephants, let alone dinosaurs. Those machine guns they had could have gotten the job done with enough prolonged fire, but would have had a hard time shooting moving through jungle cover. And the one explosive they had that could have gotten it done in one shot needs a direct hit. So, what kinds of weapons would have been more effective?
Bro could snipe a raptor, but not an Indom. Crazy.
On foot instead of in a vehicle. Well, the second movie in the franchise answered that. The field leader of the 1997 venture might have stepped onto what at the time was the most dangerous island in the world with bullets designed 100 years
I was totally
prior,
wrong. I see that now.
600 nitro
I just believed memes without thinking about it.
Textbook definition of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. The Circe double-barrel elephant gun Roland took to Isla Sorna fired bullets twice as heavy as Owen's rifle, with much more propellant. These rounds can strike with over 8,000 foot-pounds of energy. The upgraded 700 Nitro Express launched an even heavier round. I was thinking about elephant guns at the beginning of this. Over 9,000 foot-pounds. And even these ludicrously powerful bullets still don't always kill elephants in a single shot.
Has anyone just brought like a 50 cal onto the island perhaps? I feel like it would get some real results.
Usually the marksman has to go specifically for a brain, lung, or heart shot to drop the animal quickly, so both it doesn't suffer and for safety. So optimally, a fire team of professional marksmen would want to take aim at the hybrid altogether. Some alternatives that might be much more readily available would include the 50 BMG anti-vehicle rounds meant for Browning heavy machine guns. A mainstay of anti-vehicle rifles and heavy machine
It's
guns
Santa
since
Claus.
the 1920s, these bullets are smaller than the Nitro Express, but have a faster velocity, striking with upwards of 13,000 foot-pounds. The Indominus
Foot-pounds?
Rex may not be invincible, but this really does show just how resilient some large animals can be.
She survived off plot armor is essentially the thesis of this video, which makes sense. A lot of things have to go wrong and a lot of things have to go right.
There is a big difference between just wounding something and reliably killing it. It would have taken concentrated machine gun fire meant to chew
Wow,
up vehicles,
that would have done
or
it.
some of the most powerful big game rifles ever created to take it down reliably. Our heroes were stuck making the best with what they had on hand, and InGen badly underestimated what they were up against.
They should have had a freaking kill switch in each of their brains just from birth. Like, that would make so much sense. It doesn't have to be that bit, a little bomb, a little C4 bomb. I don't know. Think about it, man.
And the guy calling the shots...
Whoa, this is a freaky ending. What the hell? Why is it just like this turned into some man in the suit stuff right there? I was getting kind of scared. This video was pretty awesome. So I guess generally though, they had a few weapons that could have done it. Just people that couldn't aim necessarily. The minigun could have done it. That specific rifle that looked like a grenade launcher could have done it. But the plot was too thick and the bullets couldn't hit him. And that's showbiz, baby. Either way, let me know what you guys think down below. I'm sure there's other guns and other ways to do it. Some specific guns, just I don't know, AK-47 to the eyeballs. Like there's got to be ways. Let me know if you guys think about any weird ones down below. But yeah, leave a like, subscribe to Goji Sitter, and I'll see you next time.